From Wall Street to Main Street to help small business owners have the same capital as corporate America and give them the same resources as a larger company. We cover business funding, business credit, scaling, business consulting, and much more. Check out the website at shieldadvisorygroup.com. Welcome to the show, The Liquid Lunch Project.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan, alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosabianca. What's going on this week, Lou?
Matt, how are you, partner? Today, we're going to talk about a subject that I think is often overlooked in small business, and it's video marketing and branding. And we have the privilege of bringing on to the Liquid Lunch Project Emmy Wu, from Hollywood and film fame to the grunt work of small business. Emmy Wu, welcome to the Liquid Lunch Project.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Emmy, what do you know that we don't? I mean, I hear people killing themselves. They're dying to get to Hollywood. And you leave cinema, the red carpet, to work with small business? I mean, is what Matt and I do that glamorous?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Glamorous is what people think of the film industry and of media and celebrities. But I think the reality of the industry is that it's a lot of long hours. And at the end of the day, it is a big business. When you're working with brands like MGM, Paramount, they have a very systematic way of doing things. And so, I was putting in 16-hour days to bring a big screen movie to life. And when I decided to start my own business, I actually found it so much more gratifying to help smaller businesses tell their story, because I can actually see the impact of our work together directly.
Emmy, tell us a little bit about how that skill set that you learned on the large stage is easily transferable, both with the styling, the lighting, the camera angles, the production work. How are you implementing that to your clients as small business owners?
Yeah, great question. So I think it's kind of twofold. One, the film industry was fantastic in putting me in my place. In other words, really learning about systems, workflows, how to organize this huge project, sometimes with, hundreds of people, all bringing together one vision at a very calculated timeline. Now, when it comes to translating that into my own business, I think systems just came very naturally. And that shows up when I'm supporting my clients, because when you can provide your clients with an experience where they feel like they're really supported, where they feel like you know what you're doing, it creates a lot of trust. And that sets the project off on the right foot. Now, when it comes to technical aspects of using camera, lighting, I think we all know that camera technology has changed so much in the last few years. And, it used to be that when I was in the film industry, only companies like the Olympics would be able to actually stream live to other, places. Nobody could afford that. We would carry VTR decks literally as big as I am, with tons of wires and cables to be able to wire this broadcast to the rest of the world. And now we have our smartphones that we can just pull out of our back pocket and start talking to people on the other side of the planet. So I think that the advancements in technology is amazing. And ultimately, what the technology in film taught me about business is that it will always be evolving. You cannot control algorithms, but what you can do is really master the tools that you have now and make the most of that.
Emmy, I've got one question for you and one question only, because Matt's going to take over. He loves every subject matter involved with marketing. How do you take a person like me that is wired as an introvert to kind of leave that defense mechanism behind and become a peacock for 5 minutes in front of the camera?
Great question. And I'm an introvert as well. So I completely understand. And I also spent my entire career behind the camera. So trust me when I say the first time stepping in front of the camera was not a pleasant experience. I think ultimately, though, it's natural for us to kind of critique ourselves when we see ourselves on video. You know, I had no idea that I made so many funny faces when I talked. But ultimately, the more you do it, the more you almost just become immune to your little quirks. And over time, I find that we start to embrace our quirks as just who we are. And the more we do that, the more we get engagement from our audience, which then in turn kind of shows us, you know what? After all, our audience isn't looking for this picture perfect professional, delivery. They're looking to connect with another human being. And so I think when we can remember that and remember our mission and our purpose, then that's how we help to get out of our shell.
What type of video strategies are you seeing working right now, right? Some business owners think that they have to go out and have this high-end production, and other people just go out and they jump on a live and they're able to be more real and just connect with their audiences instead of being, buttoned up with a suit and tie on and stuffy and, answering questions that they already know the answers to. But from what I can tell is more people engage with real live spontaneous videos. What are you seeing working these days?
I would absolutely agree with that, especially since the pandemic. There's actually been a study that shows that people find kind of imperfect people much more trustworthy. And so they're actually able to connect with you on that other end, when you don't try and plan so much. But the strategies that are working today, I wish I could give you a clear black and white answer for this, but it really depends on what your goal is and who your audience is. So just to give you a couple of examples, I have clients who are coaches, for example, and their main platform is maybe Instagram and Facebook. Then by all means, leveraging the live technology, engaging with your audience, building that community and trust is paramount. Whereas I also have other clients who are building kind of a Kickstarter type of campaign, and they're actually looking for investments, which is an entirely different audience. In that case, we found that a more structured video approach where you quickly communicate the value of the product, of the service, of the company is actually much more impactful. So I think for all entrepreneurs, even before deciding on what type of video strategy should I choose, it's really important first to consider, where's your audience? Make sure that you're actually hanging out on the platform that they're hanging out on, and how can you engage with them? Because at the end of the day, even when you're doing a pre-recorded video, it's about capturing their attention. It's about pulling at their heartstrings and also communicating in logical ways for why people should work with you, why people should buy from you. And when you sort through those questions, then you'll be much better served to then figure out which videos will best fit your strategy.
So let's say a business owner has actually figured out their platform, but they want to expand on that platform. Can you give us some ideas on how they can grow their audience?
Yeah. So let's say, for example, their main platform is Instagram and YouTube. That's something that we see quite often. It's really important, and they'll probably have this already if they're ready to grow and scale, to focus on that one platform. Because sometimes a mistake that I see is now they start putting their same material all over, LinkedIn, Facebook, everything. So keeping in mind that main platform, you want to think of that as the center of your cog, essentially, this machine that keeps turning. And the other cogs and the other wheels around it become the other social media platforms that then drive traffic back to your main platform. So say, for example, putting a shorter trailer on Instagram, or even doing a quick live that tells people, hey, my video is being released today, go check it out on YouTube, and actually driving traffic there is going to serve you much better than just posting that video again on Instagram. Why? Because we want to drive as much traffic and viewership to that main platform as possible. And also, every platform has their unique way for how they want their audience to engage on that platform, right? YouTube loves longer form. And now, more recently, they also like the YouTube shorts. Instagram, Facebook, they love the lives, but then they also prefer the shorter pre recorded videos. So, again, kind of circling back to what I said previously, keeping the focus on your main platform and then leveraging the other platforms to drive traffic back to that main platform.
So you've worked with a lot of business owners, and you get them to do anywhere from 5 to 6 figures per month using video.
Mhm.
What are 3 essential videos that these business owners can use, or you can
Ooh.
give us a little hint right now?
Yeah, great question. So I think one great video is just a general brand video that showcases the values and what you stand for. This is a great cold audience video because we have to remember, for all businesses, we have our cold, warm, and hot audience members, right? And they're going to be at different points of the customer journey, and also at different points of even knowing who you are and why the heck they should even work with you. So having a very kind of more general, values driven kind of brand commercial, I like to call it, that's a great way to introduce your name, introduce who you are to a cold audience. That's not like, buy my stuff, because we all know that that doesn't work anymore, right? Then we want to have something that pulls your audience a little bit deeper into your world, that speaks more directly to your warm audiences. So this might be people who have watched one of your videos before. Maybe they're on your email list, but they've never actually bought from you or worked with you before. So there's some degree of familiarity. This is where you really want to focus on building that relationship, building that trust. So, however format you decide to do that, maybe you do it with a longer form webinar where you're really teaching something valuable. I used to do a series of live streams every Friday called Happy Hour Friday, where I would just kind of teach something. That was a great way for me to teach as well as engage. And then the third type of video, I would say, is an invitation to your offer directly. Not enough business owners are doing this because I think we tend to be shy around like what we're selling, and feeling like we don't want to, brag too much or put ourselves out there so much. But I think it's really important to have some kind of video or marketing collateral that showcases, hey, this is what I do, this is how I do it, and this is how I can help you. And I would love to invite you into my world, whether it's through the sales page buy now button, or through an application. So that kind of takes care of the entire customer journey, no matter where they are in that journey and finding you.
So, Emmy, a lot of business owners that we work with, a lot of people listening right now, they think their business is not interesting. They're either accountants or they're HVAC companies, right? How do you work with your clients and pull the story out of them?
Ooh, this is such a great question. And this is probably the thing that I love most as well. It is the story finding aspect. It is the diving deep, asking questions. Sometimes, we might get a little bit uncomfortable in that process, and that's normal and that's natural, because in the conversation of talking to my clients about their past career, the challenges, including the personal challenges that they've come across in their life, their big victories, their big wins, all these stories that come together. Typically, what I can find is a really important humanistic theme that comes through in everybody's story. So it really doesn't matter if you're, selling air conditioners or refrigerators, or if you're selling coaching. Everybody has a story. And we also have to remember that, ultimately the story is not about you. Your story is actually about your audience. you are simply the vessel to kind of transmit that message, to kind of teach that bit of value or teaching. But the story that you teach has to always reflect a value, a belief, a challenge that is also aligned with your audience. And that excavation process, I've had clients cry during that process, but they walk out of it in the end being like, oh my God, like I have never had so much fun in that process, because I think for the client, they also really discover important things about themselves that maybe they haven't thought about that they could then share in their marketing.
You know,
Guys, this is a question for the both of you, because as a professional, you want your work product to be as handsome as possible. But in the message, is it possible to be too polished? Can you put together a website or a presentation that just smacks of, well, it's just too chic?
So I think that there is a fine line between too chic and like overly professional, and luxury. I think that if you are a premium or luxury brand, by all means, there is no such thing as too professional for you, because that is your brand. I think, though, what you're kind of implying is there a point where that like look of being professional actually doesn't fit your brand anymore? And I would say absolutely. Things to avoid are maybe cliches that we know in the professional world. I hear a lot of people starting videos like, what if this, what if that, or, you're in the right place if, blah, blah, blah. And yes, they can be professional, lines, scripts that we know works and we know converts. But also, if you really want to be a professional, if you really want to be a master in your niche, then I think it's our responsibility as entrepreneurs, as marketers, to create that language that sets us apart from our competition. So that's not to, saying what if is a bad thing in itself, but how can you stretch the boundaries of your brand so that you're not falling into what's stereotypically seen as professional or, this or that, but rather breaking through those barriers. I think that's how we really stand out as well.
I think there's a high and low factor to everything, right? I think, Lou, when we're on the phone and we're consulting with clients, whether it be on financing or tax credits, we're on the phone with them, but then they can go and they'll look me up on Facebook and see me being, silly with my kids. But I think that brings on a more trustful situation for the client, because they see you're a real person at the end of the day. And people really want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust, right? So I think to answer your question, I think it's a combination of doing some high-end stuff and some low-end stuff. And it's okay to be silly once in a while.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think it's also important depending on your personality and your business model. So I had developed a framework called the archetypes of video magnetism, because one of the most common things that I would hear from my students is, like, where do I even start with a video strategy? We have like YouTube, Reels, TikTok, like all these different platforms. And I don't love the way I look and sound on video, right? It's a very common thing. And so instead of kind of forcing ourselves to start a YouTube channel when it feels hard, one thing I know about entrepreneurship is that, when it feels like drudgery, chances are we're not going to keep doing it for the long term. It's just not going to be sustainable. So we have to find a method that is sustainable and that reflects the kind of tasks that we actually like to do because of who we are. And so to give you an example, one of the archetypes is a lover, and that is an entrepreneur that's all about creative expression. They're all about creativity. So it could be artists, it could be even coaches, that help their clients to be more creative, to be more expressive. Part of their magnetism is that raw, messy, unplanned authenticity. And so especially for lover archetypes, they're definitely going to feel like the scripted thing is painful, but it's okay. because we always want to be leading with our strengths. And if that is your strength, then, you know, pulling out your iPhone and doing that raw, live, impromptu, you know, when you feel really inspired is actually what's going to really help to draw your audience in instead of forcing yourself to do something that feels unnatural.
So what are the other archetypes? We've got the lover.
Yeah, so there's 4 archetypes in total, and before I even dive into them, just so that you know, archetypes are kind of frameworks that reflect aspects of the human psyche, and so we're going to be all 4 of them, and plus many more at all times because we're humans, we're 3D, but there's generally going to be 1, possibly 2 that you feel most drawn towards, the most natural with. And that generally is going to be your archetype. So we talked about the lover already. And then the sovereign is almost the opposite. So the sovereign is a natural teacher. They're a natural leader. They love structure and organization. Hello, that's me. So, you know, trying to like do this raw off the cuff live just feels like I'm just rambling, like what the heck is the point here? But for sovereigns, they're not supposed to do that. Part of the magnetism of a sovereign is your leadership, is your ability to help your audience to understand the lay of the land, make a decision, and implement that plan. So for sovereigns, very structured teachings, you know, almost like a blog where you're teaching 3 key points and a takeaway, or even more of a structured webinar type teaching is actually a perfect sovereign type of video. I'm curious, do any of you resonate with either one of those?
Well, we're going to reserve judgment until we hear all 4.
Okay.
I kind of have a leaning already.
I do too. We can check in afterwards and see if I'm right. And the 3rd archetype then is the magician. So the magician is one that's responsible for just turning nothing into something. So they are the food bloggers. They are the event coordinators. They're the ones who are amazing at turning ideas, raw materials into value and beauty in the world. And so part of the draw of the magician is like how they are seemingly able to orchestrate this huge, you know, event and create this beautiful event or product. And their audience is just like, how the heck do you do that? Like, it just seems impossible. And so part of the draw of a magician is to share a bit of your process. You know, that is part of your magnetism. So video styles that really work for the magician is behind the scenes, time lapses where you're kind of showing the before through to the after. And you can even do live streams where you're kind of taking people behind the scenes and showing people just part of your process, because that's really what people are excited about. Then finally, we have the warrior archetype. The warrior is one that is a natural at rallying community, bringing people behind a cause and getting people excited over an idea. So when it comes to warrior archetypes, they can actually leverage their community as part of their marketing. So videos like this, you know, where we're doing interview style videos, that is absolutely a warrior style video where you're leveraging the insights, the perspectives of your audience and kind of showcasing your network. That's actually part of the draw of a warrior archetype in a business as well.
So I think that yours truly is a sovereign. I'm very detail oriented and very structured. And Matthew is the magician.
Ding, 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 ding. I would have figured Matthew's either magician or lover, and you're definitely sovereign. We're on team sovereign over here.
Yeah, I don't know. You're definitely sovereign. Me, jury's still out on. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, it's always the complementary qualities that kind of bring people together too, right? So it's important to remember as entrepreneurs to showcase your natural skills. For a sovereign, for example, you are naturally going to attract the people who want that structure and maybe can't seem to create it on their own or want that step-by-step guidance. So ultimately, don't be afraid of really showcasing who you are in your video strategy.
Emmy, you work with a lot of small businesses and medium-sized businesses and large businesses. You've worked with Paramount Pictures, MGM, the Real Housewives. I don't even know where to start there. I mean, if you could put systems and processes in for those women,
Yes.
where do I sign up? Why don't you tell the audience how they can work with you? Because I know you have two different types of programs. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, yes, about housewives. And just to quickly touch on that, you need systems to deal with housewives. Otherwise, everything would just basically explode in your face. So that's an important part. But yeah, so I have two kind of extensions of the brand. One where we are teaching and mentoring entrepreneurs on how to use video to grow their audience, grow their visibility, and ultimately, sell more of their programs and services and products. And then we also have a done for you agency side where, we're shooting your videos for you. We're also actually implementing your funnel strategy or all the kind of moving parts that come along with that video strategy for you. And so kind of depending on where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, we have something that can probably support you.
Well, where can the audience find all this and where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, that's emmywu.com, or I'm all over social media at Emmy Wu Media. Nice and easy to remember.
Emmy, a very important question. Are there any good spots for a good espresso in the state of Washington?
Ooh, you know what? I just moved here from Portland, which is right across the bridge. So I don't know about Washington yet, but absolutely in Portland. There's quite a few actually in like the Northwest area because I'm definitely all about my strong French press good coffee.
Emmy, you've done so much so far, right? What's 2.0 or 3.0 at this time look like for you? Where do you want to go next with the business, brand,
Mm.
and personally?
Yeah, great question. This is something that I reflect on day to day as well, and I think ultimately, I really have found this love and passion for helping people to tell their stories. I really think that there's a synergy and something magical that happens when two people or a team come together and really start exploring the story of a brand, of a company, and turning that into a campaign, into a launch strategy. Like it's such a fun thing for me. And so I think I really want to be continuing that aspect, helping more and more entrepreneurs to tell their story in video form, and ultimately raising awareness of their brand. And yeah, I mean, for me, also just being able to see the world, experience different cultures, and to continue telling stories, of different places in the world as well. That's like a personal passion of mine.
So, Emmy, you told everybody how to do things, what they should be doing. What are three things that they should never do on
That they
video?
should. Oh, ooh. You gonna get me in trouble here? Well, three things. So, one thing that you should never do on video is drag out your beginning. The first 7 seconds is the most important 7 seconds of your business, essentially. You really only have those first few seconds to capture somebody's attention. So I see a lot of times people going on live, hey, how you doing? I'm just gonna wait for people to come on, la di da. And it's not for like another 15 minutes until the actual content starts. So unless your audience is like trained to know that you do that, it's best to like tell people right up front what they can expect in the video that they're about to watch. I would say another thing not to do is over prioritize the equipment and the gear in attempt to make your video look more professional. Because what's often overlooked is that there is a learning curve in, putting together the workflow for cameras and cables and lighting and sound equipment and all that. And if you don't like it, or if you're not a techie person, chances are you're going to hate that and you're just not going to create videos. So I would much rather you start with something simple, use your webcam, use your smartphone, start putting content out there, and then maybe over time you can upgrade your equipment or have somebody help you with that. The third and final thing that people should never do on video is to forget their call to action. You've already put in the work to really connect with your audience, to share some knowledge, to share some wisdom. And sometimes we can forget, I guess, we get wrapped up in the moment of engaging with people live. This has happened to me before, but make sure you tell people what you want them to do after. Even if it's as simple as go check out my website and, maybe we can work together, explore the ways that we can work together. It's general enough, but it's still sending people to your website instead of, okay, bye, see you guys next time, and then what? So always, always, always have a call to action in your videos.
Emmy, thank you so much for being here. We want to be respectful of your time. You gave us a lot of great gold to go out and do for video. I know I took a lot of notes. Me and Luigi are going to do it ourselves, and we're probably going to be talking to you, I believe, moving forward anyway. So I appreciate. But before I let you run, I do have one question for you. Describe Emmy Wu in one word.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a word.
I want to. Yeah. I would say amiable, I guess. Yeah. For me, the first word that came up is like the amiable, the root word, I think, in French.
I take your amiable and I raise it a sovereign.
That's also a good one.
Emmy, thank you so much. Guys, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Liquid Lunch Project.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Liquid Lunch Project.